Hello and welcome back to Football 301. I am your host, Nate Tice. We are going to be previewing Week 8 on this show. It's Thursday. That's what we do on Thursday. Not getting the Thursday night game, which is really juicy. Vikings, Rams. Did that with Matt Harmon on our little fantasy film room that we do on every Wednesday. Instead, we're going to be previewing a couple of the games that we thought were a little juicier than the others of this total slop fest that we have this weekend. So there's going to be a lot of sloppiness that we go over on the Sunday slate. But to help me do that, start with those two games, then get to the slop, is my guy, Charles McDonald, Mr. Forverts. How you doing today, Chuck?
I'm doing good. I feel like I'm entering, mid-season shape. I'm getting used to the grind. It kind of feels like second nature. So I'm doing good, getting better by the week, better every single day.
You skipped the preseason. You're on bed rest.
Skip the preseason. I jumped right into week one, and like some of the quarterbacks this year, we had a little bit of a rough start, but I think we're all in a nice groove now.
That's so great. That's how I feel. I always feel overwhelmed the first 2 weeks. I'm like, how do I do this? And then bye weeks happen. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. That helps a lot. Yeah. Not this week though. We discovered that together, that there are no bye weeks. There's a full 16 games this weekend. Starting tonight, getting into Monday night, we're going to focus on all of those Sunday games. We're going to start with the Bills and Seahawks. We're going to do Bears and Commanders, which is, has a little bullet point with Jane Daniels' injury. But we're still going to deep dive into those games. And then we're going to do a little sloppy Sunday stakes for Charles and I. We're going to go game by game and just give one thing to check out on that slop fest and all the other games that are happening Sunday during the day, because there's a lot of them, even though some of the matchups are a little I'll say. It's still football. It's still Sunday. It's still awesome. So, like I said, starting with Bills at Seahawks, AFC, NFC tilt in Seattle at Lumen Field. +3, the Seahawks are. They are underdogs at home. Charles, when you are watching this game, when you see the Bills have the ball against the Seahawks defense, what are you checking out? What are some of the things you're highlighting for this week?
Will they get stopped? Pretty much.
Dude, Ernest Jones isn't doing it for you?
The Seahawks defense, man, not good. And even last week against the Falcons, like, you started digging into the numbers, basically how they performed on defense against the Falcons, even in the game where they gave up 14 points. Success rate, the Falcons had almost a 60% clip in that game. It just kind of turned into... It could have been worse. But it just kind of turned into, Falcons' classic calamity towards the end of the game where they just can't hold up to the ball. But that game didn't really prove that the Seahawks defense had taken a step forward, even though they held Atlanta to only 14 points. So when you start talking about a quarterback who hasn't thrown an interception this year, the Bills don't really turn the ball over at all. They're by far first by far in turnovers per drive this year. In a world where Lamar Jackson doesn't exist, Josh Allen's probably the MVP front runner. He's playing spectacular football again. And I just don't really see how Seattle's defense has the horses to slow this down. I know they just made the trade for Ernest Jones, which is going to help out their linebacker room, but he just got here, so you're probably going to take a little bit of time to get acclimated. And it's not like you added Ray Lewis to your defense. There's still probably going to be some hiccups along the road. So I think Josh Allen plus seeing how many explosives James Cook starts hunting in the run game, because his style can be a little bit boom or bust, but when you start talking about a defense that is 26th points per drive, 30th in opposing drives, ending a touchdown, 30th in EPA-based success rate, 29th in EPA per play. I mean, he's going to find his spots to make some big plays. So, man, I don't really see how Seattle gets off the field. But also, last time we said this about Buffalo, Josh Allen went 9 for 30 against the Texans. But I will say, Texans defense is a lot better than where the Seahawks are right now.
I could actually do some things to make it a little hard on you. I thought you were going to drop an Aaron Curry reference for a second there. Remember that? That was one of the weirdest careers you'll ever see.
Seriously.
Aaron Curry. It really is. I kind of had the same thoughts on this side of the ball. I was, the Bills offense I really like, and now they got Amari Cooper, and how they used Amari was pretty kind of how I thought. And you could see kind of the trickle down effect of having Cooper on the field and having his speed really does. They did some of the invert stuff that I've been really excited to see from them. Dalton Kincaid's on the outside, Amari Cooper's on the inside. have Amari Cooper run the deep route, open up space. Dalton Kincaid works underneath. So that was kind of cool to see from this Bills offense that really does, just always finds an answer. Sometimes it's a couple frustrating drives, but like you said, they don't really make a ton of mistakes. They had a couple drops against the Texans and stuff, but then really now it's like they just take care of business. They got a good run game. You mentioned James Cook. They got Ray Davis, who can really pound the rock in between the tackles too. They use Jumbo a good amount, which I think is going to be interesting here. They're easily first in rate and easily first in combined success rate and explosive play rate. So that's another thing. Like the Seahawks don't want to put their linebackers on the field, and the Bills are going to go like, okay, well, let's see if you like. All right, we're going to try out linemen and tight ends, and probably Amari Cooper or Khalil Shakir is our other guy. All right, see what you do. This Bills offense I think is good. Seahawks defense is just finding itself. Like we knew this. We knew McDonald would take a minute. You've talked about it several times, and I always thought it's a great point talking about the Dolphins game with the Ravens a couple of years ago. Like it's a pretty complex defense in the sense that they run a lot and that he's so hyper specific. It's going to just take time for these guys to gel. Ernest Jones is a nice fit. They needed an upgrade there. He's a good blitzer, so that'll be good for them too. Having Byron Murphy back was huge. Talented player, their first round pick from Texas, defensive tackle. Did a little on-off stats, which I know the nerds love when you use on-off stats. So the Byron Murphy, when he's on the field, the Seahawks only allow 4.3 yards per play. When he's off the field, they allow over 5 yards of play, 5.2. That's a big difference when it's 1 yard of play. That's so massive. Him being on the field and playing and healthy is huge for the Seahawks team. And, he's a talented player and they need some juice on the interior there. Other thing I'd say, watch for some Josh Allen scrambling. Seahawks, a little iffy against QB scrambles. 25th in EPA allowed in QB scrambles because all the funkiness they do. Eyes are not at the QB. We saw what Brock Purdy did to him a little bit. And Josh Allen is a totally different beast than Brock Purdy. So I think the Bills, this is they can get to a game plan that works when you're playing at Seattle, which is never easy. Don't get me wrong, but I think they have the nice natural answers in their offense, and I think they're adding to it too. The other side of the ball is pretty interesting, though. I will say that. So when you're watching Seahawks offense against the Bills defense, what are you checking out? No DK Metcalf, I believe.
Right.
We got a little Jake Bobo action. Good player. So I don't know. I'm curious what to say about Bobo. But when you're watching this side of the ball, Charles, what are you checking out?
Man, it almost feels like a similar thing as like what Josh Allen's doing to a lesser degree, where it just feels like Geno Smith is just carrying a really big weight on this offense. And what I'm interested in this week is, okay, DK Metcalf is out. So look, DK is he's not the perfect receiver, but that's a source of big plays down the field, right? That's someone that like you absolutely want to have in your offense at the end of the day, and you're probably going to feel it when he's out. And I think one thing that's interesting is Buffalo, they don't blitz really. Their pressure rate also is not great this year either, but they do have, to me at least, like if they're gonna have like Ed Oliver and Greg Rousseau for this game, like those are one-on-one individual matchups that absolutely favor the Bills, even if their season-long, numbers aren't great. So if you're in a spot where they're just going to sit back and let their front four go after it, you don't really have that explosive source of explosive plays downfield because DK Metcalf's out. Right. How are you going to work in this just congested ass middle of the field? And Geno's going to sit there. He's just going to drop back and take his licks and just try to chunk down the field. But this just seems like, right, with their current setup, like the no explosive plays downfield, or maybe not none, because I think even Kenneth Walker can help with that. But it's going to be tougher to get explosive plays down the field, paired with their offensive line struggles. Like, man, this just seems like we're trying to get like 5 yards at a time, and I'm not really sure that the Seahawks offense is built to play that way. Seems like a tough matchup for them without DK this week.
The Bills are the actual cover 2 boogeyman that everyone was worried about the first couple of weeks. And how you beat that is you beat them over the top or you punch them in the face through the run game. See I don't know who's doing that in Seattle. That like you say, Kenneth Walker is probably going to create a couple of explosive plays. He'll have that, but you have to be consistent. And that's more and be more methodical, especially what's going to happen on the other side of the ball. Like you don't want to have quick drives and go 3 and out, and then you just give it to the Bills, and then they're running. Oh, there's a big play. Oh, wow, we just got the ball back 8 minutes later. This is a true for the Seahawks. It's complementary football which I know is just such an old coach adage, but it's true in the NFL, especially in games like this. I will say, and this is one of the coolest things I think that has gone on with the Seahawks and Ryan Grubb. Well, they do a bunch of empty stuff. That's letting Geno go to work. I'm sure you're going to see a ton of that. But they're one of the best teams at adjusting in the second half, one of the best units. They're 26th in offensive success rate in the first half. They're third in offensive success rate in the second half in overtime, only behind the Rams and Chiefs and right above the 49ers. Who coached those teams? You got McVay, Andy Reid, and Kyle Shanahan. 3 really good coaches. And then all of a sudden there's this offense up there as well. The Bengals, I think, are 5th. And what's interesting, though, the Bills are the exact same on their defense. First half, 25th in success rate. Second half, 1st in defensive success rate. So you have 2 of the best adjusting teams in the NFL. That's what the NFL is about, making those adjustments. I make fun of like Bobby Slowick and saying like, oh, once he gets off the first 15 plays, he's screwed. This is the opposite for both of these teams. Mm-hmm. These teams adjust really well. So really, I think the second half is going to be really interesting in this game and seeing kind of what they lean into if this game stays close. So that's just one. It's a good, a well-coached unit. Like I'm not like with Grubb, it's not as exciting as I was maybe going to hope, but also just like I can see the
block, man.
Yeah, you can't do anything if you can't block. It just doesn't matter how good your receivers are. That was the understated thing with the Washington team last year, or where Grubb came from, was that the offensive line won the Joe Moore Award as the best offensive line in the league or in college. They had a first-round pick at left tackle, a second-round pick at right tackle, or third, Rosengarten, whatever he went. Yeah. And a whole bunch of other good players. So like you can attack deep when you can block, and Geno does a lot to mitigate it, but he only can do so much. So yeah, so the Seahawks are +3. You have any predictions for this game?
You know, if I was still a sitting man, I would take the Bills. I just think this is just a terrible matchup for where the Seahawks defense is right now. Josh Allen is playing too good, and I would say basically any quarterback of this like wavelength, like Josh or Lamar, would just spell nightmare for where Seattle is right now. And like you said, I think the second half stuff for Buffalo is going to be key, because one thing I love about what Sean McDermott's done this year is we all know that this roster is still kind of going through a transition, and you get to see his value every week pretty much, because they are a really good defense in the second half. And like when you just combine them with the first half numbers, like they kind of turn out to be a pretty good defense over the course of the season, and that wasn't necessarily expected. And I think that all that shines through in this game, and they take the win.
That Texans game stood out to me. I'm with you. I think it's the Bills to win. That Texans game in the second half, both sides of the ball, but especially the Bills defense. And this is kind of talking on both sides of my mouth. A little bit of Bobby Slowick coming off the opening script, but also that Bills defense kind of really adjusted, and their linebackers played well. They had a bunch of injuries, and I actually like really impressed me. It was like how much they did in that second half. So yeah, no, that's a good call. And with Bobby Babbage at defensive coordinator, which is still so funny for me. Now, moving on. Actually, Bobby Babbage's dad used to be a coach with the Bears. There's a transition. We got what should have been a really, really, really cool rookie quarterback battle between the number 1 pick and the number 2 pick. Not sure if Jane Daniels is playing this week. He's got a rib injury. He has not practiced yet, but we still got Caleb Williams. We still got a cool Bears team. We still got a Washington team that has done some really fun things on offense, even when Mariota was in there. Playing the Panthers helps a little bit. But Commanders helps a little bit. The Commanders are 3-point underdogs at home, just like the Seahawks were. These are the 2 good games that we picked. So when you're watching, I would say when the Bears have the ball against this Commanders defense, what are you checking out, Charles?
I expect Caleb Williams to kind of put on a show this week, because we've eclipsed the barrier for him where he's doing what he's like supposed to be doing on the field production wise, where, hey, you have the Panthers defense, you have the Jaguars defense, you're the number 1 overall pick, we've been touting you up, go kill him. And he did. Like he was great in those games. And the Washington defense was like, they're kind of on the same wavelength this year. They're not very good. It's kind of really that simple to me. I mean, they're not that good. Caleb's
one
that good.
Offense is going like this, and one defense is going like this.
Right. And you see what sucks like about Jaden not being here is it's probably going to take some eyes off of the game. And I think that it would have been nice for just everyone to come in and see, like, dude, Caleb Williams is a better quarterback than he was in week one. And you're seeing like tangible results for that on the field. And this is a defense that he should take advantage of. Like, I don't really see what the spot here would be, like where he could run into some trouble, because this defense has kind of been cut up by everyone. So I think he's going to have another big game. I'm looking forward to see if he can get a couple more scrambles off, or just more tight window throws, because honestly, it's just fun to watch. Like, that's what I'm here for. Yeah. I just want to see Caleb Williams do things against a bad defense.
I wrote about Caleb this week on Yahoo, and so make sure to check that out. But when I felt bad for Joey Galino, our editor, because I couldn't stop sharing clips in the article, right? Because I was just like, look at this. Like, I was like, all right, I know I have to trim some fat, but I was like, but you guys got to see what he's doing here. And it's not just the arm talent's ridiculous, and the creation's ridiculous, but his intelligence is so impressive. And I've talked about this for a few weeks now. I wrote about it. It's that's why I want to emphasize this. You do not see rookie quarterbacks with this handle of an NFL offense right away. Week 1, week 2, they gave him the full slate to call plays, do no huddle stuff. They use no huddle at the second highest rate in the NFL. Commanders are first. But that's not, it's different types. Commanders is tempo. Okay, we'll slow it down sometimes. Bears is the hanging huddle. Okay, we get to the line, fake the cadence. Matt Ryan used to do it a bunch in Atlanta. Fake the cadence. Okay, all right, now we get everyone set. We call the plays. Nothing from the headset, though. And the fact that they let Caleb have full license to do that tells me that he's doing it in practice and in meetings, because you don't get to do that in games unless you can show you can do that. And they did it week 1 or week 2, and they keep doing it. Yeah, that's a really good sign. I said at the end of the article, I go, this is a franchise QB, and I'm not saying what he can be. I'm saying like right now, what he's doing right now in week 8 of his rookie year. This is, I can call it done. Just a very impressive player. And like you said, I wanted more eyeballs on it because they play a weaker slate of defenses, but it's like, he's doing it. That's the whole point. You got to make him look like a bad defense, and he did. So I'm with you. They've trimmed some fat on that offense too, so that's been good.
I think Caleb has shown this year, like, kind of the positive side of going out there as a rookie, getting your ass kicked the first couple weeks, and you get to see like the improvement. Because week 1, man, like he was there. There were a couple times where he's like 10, 15 yards deep in the backfield with his back turned to the defense. That's already gone for the most part. Like, you don't really see him taking those those kind of like explosive negative plays or even the risk for those. So, sometimes you just got to throw him out there, let him sink or swim, and he's swimming. Like, he looks really good. And I expect him to have another big day if they can just kind of stay on schedule with the run game. And I guess, the Panthers got by Dante Fowler. Hopefully you can stand tall. Maybe the Bears offensive line struggles. Bears offensive line, Sam's Darnell Wright struggles again, but I think this will be a pretty good game for him.
They've trimmed. Talked with Matt Harmon about this, and they've reworked the offense where they're now getting guys healthy. That helps too. But like, all right, enough Gerald Everett. All right, DeAndre Swift, you do this. Okay, we're not going to give you too many touches that you run the wrong way on. But it does have an explosive play element there. So yeah, early down, they're moving the ball well. The offensive line has improved. They still have some moments where I'm like, but Caleb does a really good job of getting everyone sorted out. Again, it's really cool. I'm glad you brought up that negative play though. Against the Rams, he had a funny play where he took a sack on it, but he's in the pocket, and I don't know if he was doing this out of spite or just to kind of like it's just him being him. He literally did not move from he finished his drop and then he just stood, and not he's frozen like Drew Bledsoe, but no, like he was like, no, I'm going to progress and I'm not moving 1 inch from here as I progress. And then you could see it getting swallowed up, like the pocket gets closer and he gets sacked. But it was just kind of like, I think he was trying to go like, I could take the coaching point, see what I can do. But yeah. So.
Then Jared Verse said hello like 10 times.
I think that's exactly what happened. I love that you said you're watching the Bears line, then you see Darnell Wright doing something cool, and then you see 2 guys on the ground. Yeah, that kind of is
sometimes
how it feels.
Sometimes.
Against the Texans, it was. It definitely was. Yeah. All right, the other side of the ball. I know Jane Daniels isn't playing, so it loses some steam. It's a great proving ground for them, anyways. Because the Bears defense is really badass, and like their number 1 defensive success rate right now. but they're vulnerable to big plays. You can get them, but they are very much like a bend but don't break type of defense. But anything else that you're looking on this side of the ball, even with Jaden maybe not playing?
I guess I just want to see how real the Commanders' run game is. Because they've been, one of the best units in the league. Like, even when you pull out scrambles, they've been one of the best rushing teams in the league. They've like Austin Eckler's averaging 5.5, 6 yards an attempt. And, that goes beyond the Panthers game. From last week because
I love that we have to give that caveat. Anyone that plays the Panthers,
we have to because Mariota's playing.
Yeah.
Mariota got the start. They put up 40. Jaden Daniels only played one drive, and man, once it was yesterday. Once they announced Jaden was missing practice on Wednesday, I was like, okay, this is possibly trending toward him not playing on Sunday. I just for fun, I just kind of threw on the Washington offense versus Panthers defense film. I was like, I don't even know what I'm watching here. Because there was one point in the second quarter where they were just basically just spamming dive plays, just Brian Robinson up the middle, 8 yards, 8 yards, 8 yards. Then maybe we'll bounce it out for 9 yards. And this is not, there's nothing you can take from this to move it forward. But if we're going to do the same thing with Caleb, hey, he's playing well against units that he should play well against. Yeah, if the Commanders' offense is real, they should dump 40 on a team that's barely NFL quality right now.
Right.
It's going to be a lot tougher this week. I don't really know what to expect from Mariota because he's such a damn wild card sometimes in terms of how he plays. But, when he gets into these games, sometimes against tougher defenses, I feel like he just kind of craps out a little bit and is prone to making just stupid plays. And that could probably hurt him. I think it definitely matters that they don't have Jaden for this game. Don't just look at 40 points last week and say, oh, they can just run it back with Mariota and they'll be fine. They need Jaden in there. If he's not going to play, that's a really big loss for them.
Yeah, with Jaden's legs and that is going to get a lot of hype and everything, but he's safe with the ball. And that matters against a defense like this. And this defense wants to squeeze you. They want you, hey, we're going to dare you to try and get an explosive play because we're going to make it hard on you down to down. I want to write about, I was originally going to write about Jaden and Caleb this week. And then when Jaden showed that he was probably, when they said week to week, I was like, if they said day to day, I'd be like, oh, he's probably playing. But week to week usually means he's missing a week. So I'm going to push that article a little bit back. Sorry, Commanders fans. But I really just wanted to study the Commanders offense a little bit because I kind of had an epiphany. I talked about Matt Harmon about this, was that maybe some of the dirty work guys at skill positions that they have now, Brian Robinson, Luke McCaffrey, Zacchaeus, Scary Terry even does some dirty work stuff. Diami Brown, when he's out there, it does some dirty work stuff. It was like Cliff Kingsbury learned I don't need a whole bunch of 5'8" fast guys. He thinks his Texas Tech brain thinks that he needs all this space. So we got to get speed. And then you realize, well, all these guys are fast. We can beat them with play speed, the tempo of the play, and let the players, do the burly work. And that creates better plays because their receiver screens are most people get mad at them and they get 5-10 yards every time they do them. Even though they're coming.
They're working so much better now than they were at the end of Arizona.
Oh my God, those were dead plays. It's completely dead plays. And I really, there's some theory to me that Cliff has because there's a gap, his offense actually works for what defenses are doing now. And the fact that he goes tempo, so you can't do a bunch of funky looks against them. They don't use a ton of motion, which actually I think has some benefits now because the defense is doing so much stuff. I mean, the no huddle stats insane. They're no huddle 57% of the time. Bears are number 2 at 28, literally twice as much as the second most team. And I think there's some benefit to that from against most defenses. Bears, though, who are very smart, run a lot of zone, have a lot of good players. That's where I'm okay, kind of prove it. But also great call with the Commanders O-line. They've been one of the most pleasant surprises of this season.
I thought they were going to be awful.
I did too. I was like, Josh is okay, but the rest, whatever. They're a legitimately top half offensive line, run game, and it's not just all gimmicks. And they get some easier looks because of the tempo stuff. But man, they're sound. They protect well. The pressure rates are good. They run the ball well. So
the floor in this offense is a lot higher than I thought it would be coming into the season.
Yep, I know. And I'm fine saying it. I want good offenses. I want I want good quarterback play.
I don't want Jaden Daniels to suck.
No, I don't either. I want good
Washington primetime games we get? We need him to be good.
You're right. Oh man, I know. because there's nothing worse than when they trot those games out and you have to watch Daniel Jones again. Quick prediction for Commanders?
Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago as well.
I don't think Commanders can score enough.
Yeah, to keep up with them. Yeah, I think it's gonna be more interesting than people think, but it's I really wish Shane Daniels was playing, but I'm with you on that one. Yeah, we're gonna take a quick break, and then we'll get back with our sloppy steak Sunday watch. All right, we are back, and we are gonna start this slop watch. We're gonna we broke it down. We split these games in half. And Charles is either going to give one thing he's looking at, he's interested in, a player, a stat, a joke, something, a bit. And I'm going to do the same for the other half of the game. So we're going to alternate on this. We got a Haas fight in there somewhere as well. But we're going to start off with, before the season, this seemed like an interesting game. Not so much now. Oh, well, James is playing. We got the Ravens at Browns. Browns are 8.5-point underdogs at home. Another home dog, big home dog. Charles, what's your one thing for this game? Start us off with the slop watch.
Lamar, I want to see him keep this, record. Like he's having one of the greatest seasons in NFL history, objectively. He's on pace to be the first 4K, 1K player in the league. Yeah, and he would also have 3 of the 5 1,000-yard rushing seasons for a quarterback. So that's what I'm rooting for. And then on the other side, I guess, can the Browns be competent enough with James where they are watchable? That's it. That's the floor. Can you be a watchable NFL offense?
That's it. Maybe some Cedric Tillman in there. Yeah. We got Ken Dorsey calling plays, I guess. All right. So we'll see. Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, Ravens one is or with Lamar. I love the 1,000 because the other two guys with 1,000 rushing yards are what? Vic and is it Vic and then who else? Was it just Vic?
More Fields.
Is it Randall Cunningham? Who is it? Oh, Fields. Duh. Fields. That's right. That's right. Well, and just think how Vic and Fields played. Like we still get to see Fields play, but Lamar as a passer is just leagues better. Vic had talent, but not like this as an arm talent. He had arm talent, but as playing like quarterback, Lamar's just on another level. So I like that you brought that stat. Man, Cunningham had the record, but he didn't get over 1,000. That's right. And another guy that won 1998 season when he had Randy Moss, Chris Carter, Jake Reed, and Robert Smith and 3 Pro Bowl offensive linemen. He was good throwing the ball, but most of his career could not throw the ball like this either. My next game, or the one I'm going to take, is Eagles at Bengals. Bengals are 2.5-point favorites at home. My one thing is, do the Eagles keep the good times going on the ground? It seemed that they've learned to maybe not lean into some Jalen Hurts passing the ball and instead are just going to pound the rock with Saquon Barkley and the offensive line who's battled some injuries, but still is well coached and has some players. But against the Giants, they just pounded the freaking rock going against a Bengals run defense that they are very bad defending the run. they turn every run game that they play into the best run game in the NFL. Like they've allowed they've allowed over a 50% success rate. So they turn every run game into like an elite run unit. So, and the Eagles have Barkley in this run unit. So I think we're going to see plenty of that. They might keep the lid on, some of those go balls, those cheapy ones to AJ Brown. So who knows on that side, but I that's really what I would keep out on this Eagles offense. Is like, hey, this might be your formula. Do you stick to it when you should, or do you kind of blink before you should? I don't know how to predict on that game though.
The Bengals might be 4-4 after this weekend.
Yeah. Luckily,
Christ.
I was on record after they went 1-3 or whatever, 1-4, and I said they could still maybe make the playoffs because the AFC was wide open. So,
yeah. Well, Russell Wilson's here to stiff arm him,
Keep Pittsburgh Tomlin. Oh my God. I think Tomlin said they might even go back. Oh God, that's just like, yeah. Well, we'll see. Also, the Bengals offense brutally efficient, which has been watching Joe Burrow turn into. Truly like Philip Rivers. It's been pretty fun. All right, going on to the Haas fight of the week. This is one of your games. We have the Titans at the Lions. The Lions are 11.5-point favorites, and this is our Haas fight. All right, what are you checking out of this game?
The more I sat looking at the Titans' defensive numbers for the season, I just felt so damn sad for them. Like, dude,
it's good. They're a good team. They're
a good unit, defense.
Yeah,
they're a good defense, and I think even their EPA per play has dropped after that Bills game. But I think success rate, they're still number 2 in the league.
Yeah, they're around there. Yep.
Which is, damn, you have done your job, Titans defense. They have lived up to their end of the bargain. And it like I almost think it's hard to be like 1-6 with the defense is good, because for a while there, like the Titans numbers were comparable with the Broncos for like the first like 4 or 5 weeks of the season. And now the Broncos are 4-3 and the Titans are they're 1-6, like their season's over. And the fact like that their defense could be this good and they're still 11-point underdogs, there's nothing here to watch for except like the explosions in the trench games when Detroit like does what they do and line up and run the ball. Because Tennessee does have like a damn good run defense overall, or to go with their defense overall. So like that's where the intrigue is.
Yeah,
I don't think there's nothing else really, because you don't need like the lines might be short on edge rushers. You don't need pass rushers to beat the Titans offense right now. It's just bad.
No, yeah, I wish I had something more exciting. I guess the other side, Pierre Skronsky against Lee McNeil. I guess something like that. But yeah, Lions offensive line, Lions run game against Sweat, Simmons, those guys. That should be fun. But it's just kind of like, can they hang for 4 quarters, or they just go, oh my God, they have the ball again past midfield. Oh God, they're punting again.
Like last week.
Yes, that it just wears on these teams, these units. It really just does, and you see it sometimes, and like that's why kind of some of the stats can get jaded on it, because you're just like, yeah, I would give up too if like the opposing team got the ball in midfield every time, like every single time, and we got 3 points or 6 points. Look at the Browns defense sometimes this year. You see them turn it up and crank it up for a quarter or 2 quarters, and then they go, oh, yeah,
we're dead.
We're dead. They got some good vibes at least with Nick Chubb back and everything. Like that was maybe Jameson there. So, all right, going on to one of my games, Cardinals at Dolphins. Sneaky, interesting matchup. Tua returns. For this game though, I kind of had said a fun styles make fights type of game here. You got Burley Cardinals offense, who are actually top 10 in all the success rate, explosive rate stuff I look at. So get off my back about my Drew Petzing hype. He'll figure out Marvin Harrison Jr. He'll figure him out.
The offense is not the problem here.
No. We'll get to the other side. This is more of a 2 things thing for me. But then the Dolphins, their defense is a sneaky, really good defense. They if you watch them, and every time I'm like, oh, Dolphins, they're a nothing team. And then I watch whatever offense is going against them, I'm like, I got Siler, Ramsey, like, man, they make it a slog on you. So I want to watch it. What kind of another low key kind of Haas fight that we got going on that side. And then we got Tua back going against a funky Cardinals defense that you can get after a little bit. So
they're trying, man. They're trying their hardest.
Maybe they do. That's what I appreciate. Watch the Chargers game was a little bit more like, oh, okay, you guys can do this, a little bit. Their defensive shell stuff with Budda Baker, the 3 safety stuff that I was excited about the preseason, they're still doing it. This should be the type of offense that's good against, with all the Shanahan motions and all this stuff. Like, it was decent against the 49ers. They got lucky with some turnovers. That's what they kind of have to be with the lack of personnel that they have. So, but I do want to see Tua back, see at least if this offense could be functional. It wasn't good when he was out there the first couple of weeks. I want everyone to remember that. And then you got Tyreek Hill not even looking for a football on one route last week. So they need a little bit of mouthwash, but now I want to see if the Cardinals are like, no, we're going to keep this momentum going for the rest of the season.
Yeah. My one take on that game is if Tua's back, if they don't come back to life to like a big degree, it's red. Like, you got to hit the red alert button.
Oh yeah.
They should, like, personnel wise, like, they should torch this defense.
They should. And if it's a struggle or a slog, and I get it's Tua's first game back, but he got paid. I drop excuses once you get paid. That's kind of what I stop, and so I, want to see him. It's not, and I want to see him in this offense again, because again, the offense has just been, oh, okay, they can still run the ball. No, they can't. Like that's been gone. That's went away the last few weeks. There's been signs, but it's not.
This goes back to last season too.
Starting like November-ish. Yeah, I know. So it's a continued thing. So I want to see if they adjust and see if, you still have a shot in the AFC. Still open. Like, it's not dead. Like you just mentioned the Bengals. Like, that's why I want to see if these teams have some heart. And yeah, it's a big proving ground. Cardinals got some good vibes. So yeah, kind of a little difference there. All right, now we got, one of yours. We got an NFC South battle. We got Falcons at Bucks. Bucks are 2.5-point underdogs at home. Bucks are also wearing the creamsicles, which I think you have a take about.
The current unis are better. I know that this is like straight blasphemy, but I kind of don't get it. I don't think that I think they upgraded their uniform, quite frankly, with what they're wearing now. Now, what they were wearing, like when they drafted Jameis with like the digit numbers,
the
and
alarm
like,
clock numbers.
The alarm clock numbers, and like they tried to do basically like a digitized version of that with like a slim thing of creamsicles. That was terrible. Nothing is as bad as that. But I just find the shade to be a little bit whatever. And it's also, and this is honestly true. I said it earlier, but this is true for a lot of teams. But it's very true for the Buccaneers. Like this is just associated with your worst self for the most part. Like you guys, they were terrible when they wore these jerseys. Like they made Steve Spurrier grumpy. You know, that's why he was that's why he was being so mean to everyone from like 1995 to like 2015, because he was getting his damn ass beat playing for Washington or not for Washington, for Tampa Bay. Oh wait, no, that was Tampa Bay, right?
Yeah.
For Tampa Bay back in the day, and yeah, he's miserable now, and it's because of those creamsicle jerseys, and I don't really understand like the love for them. They're different, but what they wear right now, that's great uniform, like the red with the white pants, good stuff, and there's Super Bowl winning history with this 2 times. Come on,
right? It's not so the other like I think they call them faux backs now, you know, like throwback, faux back. Other teams that we see, Broncos one's beautiful. And also the Broncos one game. I know the first year there was a while there in the 90s, every time a team switched their uniforms, they like won a Super Bowl that year or like made it to the conference championship game or something. Broncos, I get, they finally won those Super Bowls once they made the change, but their old uniforms, they were making Super Bowls. They were still winning a lot of games under Dan Reeves and others and early John Elway years, and their uniforms, those are just, I love them. And then you got your Falcons. We have the Dirty Birds. You know, at least we had the 98 Falcons that they won. I know it's a lot of crap before that.
Right. I will say the specifically the red helmet, black top look associated with a whole lot of losing, man. Whole lot of losing.
I know. And that's why that one's hard for me.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I don't
care what anyone says.
It's such a good look. I know. And then the Seahawks have their throwback ones I love. And Seahawks won games in the 80s from when my dad was playing with them. Actually, with some good vibes there too. Or Chuck Knox and all that. So like that, you know, they have some history, but I'm with you a little bit. I like the uniforms, but I also think of Trent Dilfer.
Yeah.
And that's all I need to leave it at.
You never want to think of Trent Dilfer.
No, you don't. You definitely do not, especially if you're in Birmingham right now. Yeah. But if we go to Roger Sherman had a nice article about today. All right, going on to my last game before we take a break. We got Jets at Patriots. Patriots are 7-point home underdogs. This one should be quick. Drake May. That's why you watch this game. Drake May. Let's see what he's got. See if we got the speech-giving Jets versus the soft Patriots. And those are the storylines of the week. So which one comes to a head here? Also, Patriots receivers, know what you are. Why you guys are going one after another complaining?
Yeah, what are you talking about?
What are you guys doing? Like, it's not like, I know it's not like you guys are like dominant players that like should be throwing their hands up about stuff. So
also, dude, K-Sean, you missed your window by like you missed your window at college, dude.
Yeah. I mean, he was the number one receiver on everyone's board, and then he went.
Yeah, everyone said he was going to be great.
3.
He's got 10 catches in the NFL. Enough.
Yeah. Remember that? Was it the Florida State game they played? Like week 1 or whatever? And he just like he had some terrible moments in that game. It was like, yeah, I know.
Yes,
so like,
yes, because that was the game where Mason Smith tore his ACL celebrating. And and K-Shaw was awful in that game.
Yes.
And
he just stopped running routes and everything. So whose word am I going to take here? You know, when I look at these guys, the guy that complaining.
We got 6-round picks asking for more targets. Like,
I know.
Drake, take control of your country.
His quote last week about why England fans should be fans of Patriots. He's the perfect level of smart, but still a golden retriever. And I love it. Yeah. It's like
I'm honestly kind of rooting for them to win, because wouldn't it be funny for the Jets to just add another piece, because now that Reddick's back and they just lose another game?
And when people are writing articles about the speech, I would think that'd be very funny. I do. Yes, I would absolutely think that'd be very funny. Both of these teams got to prove something. Something. And I already went on a rant about Belichick earlier this week, but at least prove something maybe to your old coach that wants to take pot shots every week. All right, we're going to take one last break, get back to the rest of Slop Watch, and get to a mailbag question as well. Okay, going to one of your games, we got... I sometimes it's just so funny when you see two teams paired up and you're like, they're playing each other, huh? Saints and Chargers. Chargers are home. Chargers are a touchdown favorite at home. 7-point favorites at home in Los Angeles. When you are checking out this game, what's your one thing for the Slop Watch?
How painful does Jim Harbaugh try to make this on the Saints defense? Because they ain't tackling nobody, man. And
no.
I know, look, the Chargers run game, it's been kind of whatever this year.
Yeah, it's kind of what I expected.
It's
gritty, but it's not great.
Yeah. They look like they're in year one of a rebuild.
Yes.
But I know Jim is watching that Saints tape and drooling all over his steak and milk that's right in front of him. He's got steak, milk, and he's watching Sean Tucker break 12 tackles versus Saints defense in just the fourth quarter alone. I feel like Jim is just going to say, we are going to run the ball 50 times and see what happens, because those guys have quit, capital Q, quit, and they're hurt, and they're just not very good. It's just all of the pieces of a recipe for a defense that doesn't care and is terrible at the same time.
It's not like an offense where I'm like, oh yeah, they run the ball decently. It's like literally the Chargers pride themselves and haven't shut up about how much they want to run the ball. That's all they do. And then you got Justin Herbert making hero throws. But this is what they want to do. This is what they built their whole entire team around, because it's a Harbaugh team going against the Saints team that's like you said, it's just indifferent to playing defense right now. You got Javonte Williams looking amazing against them. You got Bo Nix running down the sideline against them. They're not playing very sound or very just good.
Dude, you got Bucky Irving and Sean Tucker. They look like LaDainian Thomas and Michael Turner out there. Yeah.
I know. Alontae Taylor's missing tackle. I know Tyrann Mathieu. This is what he did in Kansas City. This is why they went to Justin Reed. But all of them. It's just every guy just making a mistake on something. So yeah, like you said, that this could be ugly. All right, that's why they're touchdown favorites.
Yeah, pray for Spencer Rattler too.
I know,
because this defense is pretty good, even though they don't have a whole lot of pieces right now.
I know that Jesse Manor is doing an awesome job on that defense. I want to do a little study on them, so maybe we can do a deep dive on them pretty soon, because it's been a very good unit. All right, going on one of my games, the Darnell Savage revenge game. We got Packers at Jaguars +4. Jaguars are 4-point home unders.
I'm guessing you saw what he said this week.
Who?
Darnell Savage?
I saw what LaFleur said. What Savage said.
You know what Darnell Savage said?
No.
Someone asked Darnell Savage who he was looking forward to seeing playing Packers again. He said no one.
All right, so yeah. And the thing is with Savage, now he has to play on the back end, and he's not in the slot. It's a mess. It's a mess on that defense. Thankfully, we didn't hype up that defense at all. Having Tyson Campbell back helps. I will say that, but they're going against a Packers team that doesn't matter what your scheme is, doesn't matter your personnel. They're going to find it. They're going to find the weakness. They're going to poke at it. They're going to run the ball on you, or Jordan Love's going to throw some hero throws and make some big plays. So this game, I'm kind of Packers take care of business. They should really take this game. Also, Packers fans travel well. They're going to Jacksonville. Jags fans, they got to win, but they're still, they're about this close to wearing clown outfits again to games. So I think we're going to have a heavy Packers crowd. And so I think they can also, like we said, run it on them. They have guys that can beat man coverage. That's what the Jags are going to do a ton of. They have tight ends that can get open against, the poorest linebackers of the Jags. They just have all the answers. So that's kind of what I'm just looking at in this game. The other side of the ball, Jaguars offense showed some life. I will give them some credit there. And they're cleaning up a lot of the mistakes. And maybe that's because they don't have Travis Etienne touches, but they're cleaning up a lot of stuff. And I will give him some credit. I still think some of their issues is more personnel than really some of the scheme stuff they're doing, even if it's more boom busty. But I will give credit to Doug Peterson, Press Taylor a little bit on that offense. But Trent Baalke, I know what you are. All right, going on. So what are your games? I gave you some fun ones. Panthers, Broncos. Broncos are 10-point home favorites. Bryce Young will start against the Broncos defense, who might be the best defense in football right now. So what are you checking out in this game?
Oh my God. Like how did this happen to Bryce Young? Like, because the dark humor in this is ever since the Panthers, like you basically had like one game where Andy Dalton had a good offense, maybe a game and a half. And since then, it has just all fallen apart totally. They're just awful. So people have been clamoring for Bryce to get back into the lineup. So, Andy Dalton has this car accident, which luckily, very minor injury, but hurt enough where he's going to miss at least a week. So the people who want to see Bryce, you get to see him against the Denver damn Broncos.
At Mile High.
That's awful. That's just awful because you're at best versus worst. Because the only other quarterback who was just in the realm of Bryce Young's stats was Deshaun Watson. So you're getting bottom of the barrel quarterback play. I just want to see if he can get past like 125 yards passing.
I wonder what his over-under is now. Stone, can you look that up?
I mean, there's no way. There's simply no way that it's high. Because
and Surtain's, I think, is back, and they're just going to run press coverage on them the whole time. They're going to green dog them and blitz them every play. It could be ugly. At
least they have a running back. Chuba Hubbard's having a nice season.
He is. Yeah, credit to Chuba. I got a little lower on him in the draft process. I was kind of indifferent on him in the end, but he runs harder, like tougher than I gave him credit for coming out of college. Good call there. And even though they tried to pay another running back last year, Miles Sanders, and then they also drafted another guy, Jonathan Brooks, in the second round this year. It's like, what do you guys think you need on that team? Which is a lot. They're a couple of years away on that, but I'm more excited to watch the Broncos defense and the Broncos run game, which has been really interesting the last few weeks. It looks like a Sean Payton run game, so that's been pretty fun. But yeah, Panthers, I'm sorry. Now, going on to an AFC South battle, actually more of a juicy game than you would first think. Colts and Texans are kind of this is almost like a loser leaves town. I wouldn't say loser leaves town. It's like an eliminator match, I guess would be a better way to put it. Texans are 5-point home favorites, but this really has some significance in this division. The Colts get DeForest Buckner back, Jonathan Taylor back. Remember, though, this Colts run game got absolutely smacked by this Texans run game in week one, and where I was like, oh, Texans solved all of their problems. Turns out that might have been a little blip, a little Joe Mixon blip. When he's not out there, it's not great. But really, I'm just looking, can Anthony Richardson continue like some positive play? Can he look like a guy? He needs to take these live reps. I want to see the Texans offense figure out their problems. Like, this team looks more like the best of a bad bunch of that division as opposed to a true contender. Because just that offensive line, bad offensive line sinks any contender. It's like, it's just something, it's like proven. So that's why I'm just so concerned right now. Hopefully Nico Collins comes back in a few weeks, but until they figure out these protection issues, I guess a refresh maybe defense that, Leatu Latu has done some nice things. DeForest Buckner, they can make the run game a slog. Are we going to get back to CJ Stroud facing a whole bunch of 3rd and 10s and having to play like a hero? Also, whispers were starting about CJ Stroud, and people are going like, oh, now people are making excuses about his play call and stuff. We were criticizing this offense last year too. So, and he was overcoming it. So just want to make sure that's on record.
What's there to say about CJ Stroud right now?
He's a hero.
Because the most recent thing I've seen is 85 yards passing.
That's it.
Is that
That's it? That's like his bad Northwestern game where he had 84 yards, and it was actually one of the most impressive games when you watched him. Stop staring at the box scores.
People. Sample sizes too.
I know. Yeah, great point. And I know the underlying stats aren't great with the stuff, but it's like that's because he's doing everything he can. Like, this offense just it doesn't have a lot of good footing right now. It's been relying on explosive plays from Stroud to Nico Collins, and now a little bit of Diggs. And then it's like, all right, if that doesn't happen, who's stepping up? Like, and it just, I mean, even last week, Tank Dell gets CJ Stroud breaks contain, hits Tank Dell in the back, hits Tank Dell in the chest. It's like, all right, I know you don't have the biggest catching range. Can you at least catch it on your chest? And that's just kind of feels like one guy after another letting them down. But their offensive line, though, is I like the rules, the performance. Laramie Tunsil looks like a negative player. They have just been really outright bad, and it's just been one of the more surprising things because I thought they'd improve at least a little bit from last year. Texans also have a few injuries on defense still. Alshire, Jimmy Ward, To's limited with a concussion. So, dude, the Colts just pound the rock. Yeah, that was a couple things on that game because it's a little bit more interesting than you would first think.
Yeah, they're still. I just looked up. They're still 30th in EPA-based success rate on first and second down. The Texans are. So, luckily, you have CJ Stroud, so you don't look like a total embarrassment. But this still is not a good offense.
It's not. I know, and they just haven't done anything where I'm like, oh, I like that. I like the third down designs more than anything, and maybe that's just because Stroud looks so cool on him. But he's on his own. I mean, he really is. All right, we'll get into another AFC battle here. We've got a couple more games here. We got this one of my games, actually. Chiefs at Raiders in Vegas, where I live. Raiders are 9.5-point underdogs at home. DeAndre Hopkins. That was it. I think we both also independently stumbled upon the Chiefs stats and their offensive stats and going like, why are people complaining? I wrote about it last week. You were doing math. You were doing something on it too. And we're both like, They get 5 yards whenever they want. That's good. There's 3 goals to an offensive play: an efficient play, a first down, or a touchdown. Hopefully you get all 3, but mostly getting an efficient play is good. That's a check. Good. We did good there. They don't need to bend over backwards. Like they can just get 5 yards a pop whenever they want. That's good. That's a good offense. You had their points per drive. Aren't they like 7th?
Yeah, they're. I just pulled it up. They're 8th in points per drive.
8th.
They're 9th in EPA per play. They're 5th in EPA per rush. They're 1st in success rate.
Sky's falling.
4th in pass success rate. 1st in rush success rate. It's literally just turnovers in red zone. Like if they can figure that out, they're back to being an elite offense.
And those turnovers are a rookie running back, Carson Steele, which has been hilarious, by the way, because he had those fumbles. He now all stots it, and that's like, oh man, you're really leaning into his fullback bit. So where he double hands it and does that through the hole, he doesn't one arm it anymore. So it's like, oh, I was trying to say you're a tailback, man, and now you're truly running like a fullback. And then a couple of the interceptions that Mahomes have, you're not going to have tip balls to a defensive lineman, all the time. Like that's going to iron out, and figure it out. So, and this defense is really good too.
Right. This is. They're 6-0. Like
they're awesome. They're the best team in the league.
Right.
It's like them in the Lions.
Yes. And it's one thing that's just been so frustrating is just seeing people be like, man, what's wrong with Mahomes? Like there's nothing wrong with him.
Nothing.
You don't have a top you need Mahomes to have a top 10 offense, right? Like because with this supporting cast, like, yeah, they can run the ball, but they would still need a little bit of help from the quarterback to make it go, and he's still playing well. I know it's like 6 touchdowns, 8 interceptions is not, there's no dopamine fireworks falling out the skies anymore, but this offense is at its core doing what every coach would love to do. Every time we come out, we're getting 5-6 yards.
Yes, that's great. That's exactly what you're taught to do. I know. And when Mahomes has to be Mahomes, he still can. It's not like he lost the trick shots. It's not like he's hurt or anything. Watch him against the 49ers just taking over. So, yeah, I have no worries with them.
2 picks.
Oh, that's why he's bad now. Yeah. But, with the Hopkins thing, I talked about more with Matt earlier this week on fantasy, on the fantasy forecast. And on that, though, he's the zone beating guy. He could play on ball, which is needed because Xavier Worthy literally can't operate if he has to play on the ball. He has to be off the ball. He has to be in motion. Travis Kelce's best when he's off the ball. So this is just going to have a nice trickle-down effect on the rest of the team. Not saying this is not DeAndre Hopkins in his prime. This is 75% of them, 80% of them. Still a good player, still tangibly moves the needle just a little bit, but it helps everybody else out in this offense. So I really like that trade. I thought that made a ton of sense. That's trade and the Cooper trade to the Bills both made perfect sense for where the teams are at right now. So also want to do it again, giving a shout out to Travis Kelce, the blocker. He is a good blocker now, and I love it. He's like morphed into a true old man strength, good blocker now.
Taking this leader stuff to heart.
He was an outright bad blocker, like bad. Like they hid him. You could not rely on him doing anything, and it's kind of cool to see him going like, "Hey, I got to help out the game. I got to help us win." That's the Chiefs right now. They're boring but efficient, and embrace the bore. All right, Sunday night to wrap up Slop Watch, Cowboys at 49ers. Another interesting game. Got the 49ers -4. Kind of been the bogeyman, this defense for this Cowboys offense. But when you're watching this game, Chuck, what's your one thing?
Man, I mean, no matter how you slice it, Cowboys rush defense is like one of the worst things that's ever contaminated a professional football field. They suck so badly. And I know that, the 49ers, they've had their issues, with
I love that analysis. They just suck.
They just suck. They just suck.
Like Maisie Smith sucks. No, it's like, I'm with you.
Dude, Linval Joseph, 100 years old. Jordan Phillips has never actually been that good. Like, I don't know. Like, they're just bad. So even with, some of maybe like the injuries that the 49ers have had, I still expect them to just mow this defense down. I even like on the ground, like I just think the Cowboys are really that bad. Like where you see, some of the offensive struggles that they had last week against Kansas City. Like I just don't think you'll see any of it. And I tried to like lessen on narrative scouting in the middle of the season, but dude, the 49ers own this team. Like I don't know. I think they're gonna steamroll them again. Maybe like Dak and CeeDee can finally get something going, but I think the Cowboys are just too depleted right now. They stink.
That's it. It's the obvious answers is that yes, all the 49ers receivers are out, but like it's still Kyle Shanahan. And how does Kyle Shanahan make a living? Running the freaking ball. And even if it's not the best unit, it's not the greatest thing, we don't have CMC, he might be coming back soon, but we might not have him, it's Jordan Mason instead. He's still going to find ways to attack this defense. I didn't look into Shanahan versus Zimmer stats, but I don't recall it ever being a thing for Shanahan where it's like, oh, this is an issue for him. Maybe the passing downs get there, but I don't think they're going to face a lot of third and longs because I think it's just going to be a brutally efficient game for the 49ers. They haven't been explosive as a team as we generally see them. That's losing Christian McCaffrey will do that. But they can still be efficient. They can still find ways. I brought up the second half adjustments. They're one of the top 5 offenses in adjustments. So they're going to find ways to move the ball and score the points. So yeah, I'm, and then the other side is just like, the 49ers defense has just had the Cowboys offense's number. It doesn't matter who the defense coordinator is. It's just Fred Warner. And it's just been like they're like just limits everything they want to do. When you run a lot of quick game against Fred Warner, that's not a great formula. Hopefully we see some Malik Mustafa too. That was a good call by us, Malik Mustafa. He's playing exactly how I pictured him in the NFL, which is a lot of fun. So, all right, we're going to get to a mailbag question now. Again, you can send these in to football301mailbag at yahoosports.com or leave us a 5-star review and you can jump the line and get a question there. But we're going to try and answer these once a week. You want to go with that good NFL role play?
Yeah, it was just the first thing that just me being a head was the first thing that came to my mind was the question was what makes a good NFL role player, and my first answer was going to be don't ask for more targets when you have 10 career catches.
You're not lying though. That's
the starting point.
Don't ask for the ball. That if you're not asking for the ball, you're a good role player on offense. Sean D asked this question and said, what makes a good NFL role player? What is it worth to pay for one? What are some of your favorites? I'm partial to Leo Chanel from the Chiefs, go Badgers, and a player like Darnell Washington, inline blocking tight end for the Steelers. 2 of my favorites. So you guys already took away 2 of my answers. God, that's such a good answer though. Like know your role. Question. I know it's a role player, but like truly know your role. Like there's stars, there's 99 overall guys, but there's a whole lot of 75 to 84 overall guys in this NFL. And the cool units are when these role players are just hyper specific to that defense. Van Ginkel, for the Vikings is a good example. Actually a ton of Vikings defenders. Metellus. Like pick a Vikings defender. That's an epitome of that, which makes sense because Brian Flores is a Belichick guy. And he used to always have these kind of hyper specific guys. There's a few more. Darnell Washington's a great answer. I love that. Just a super blocker, inline tight end, true Y tight end. Do you have any that come to mind?
I weirdly always enjoyed watching, even though some of his success came at the expense of the Falcons. Mike Tolbert was always kind of a fun guy to watch. Because you never really had to overthink it with him. And there was another fullback, like another fullback kind of receiver guy that played for the Raiders, whose name.
Oh, I know who. Marcel.
Yes, Marcel Reese.
Marcel Reese from Washington.
Those kind of guys. I've always enjoyed like just the idea of just like the 250-pound guy that can catch, but Come on, we're not going to give you the ball every play. Yeah, we can split them out. Whatever. Your job is to catch the ball on like a swing pass on the 9-yard line and bowl your way into the end zone.
Yeah, maybe a screen or something like that. Yeah. Alec Ingold is maybe a good example right now for the Dolphins.
There's a reason those guys don't ever really get more than like 100 touches a season. But if you're even like a fullback getting 100 touches, pretty good player, good role player.
Kyle Juszczyk is one of these guys, just a super role player. So that's another good one. Yeah, I know. I'm trying to think of some more defensive guys. Like a classic designated pass rusher is always good. Like Bryce Huff was one, and then now he has to play a full-time role. Like he was an awesome role player, but I wish I had a better answer than know your role is the best way to be a good role player. And in the NFL, where again, you got 11 players out there under your unit. Not all of them are going to be stars. Some of these guys just have to be good at what they do for the one specific thing. Jonathan Hankins, who's now with the Seahawks,
was a great one.
Like a big burly nose tackle that just stuffs to run for 14 to 20 plays a game. Yeah, those guys. Mike Hilton, nice one. Nice little slot. Slot guys are another good one. Any kind of rotational guys. I was trying to think of some power slots. Like Zach Pascal was one of mine. I used to always like because he would just always do the dirty work stuff. Robert Woods was one. Then he got too good. He got promoted from that to just good. Yeah, to just a good player. Man, there's
trying to think of any offensive lineman ones.
Like, yeah, but they're starters, Like, I guess, starters. The skipper for the Lions as the 6th offensive lineman.
Wide receiver, depending on who you're playing.
The Ben Johnson weird revenge game. Maybe that's what Ben Johnson was doing. He was like, I'm coming for that job. Like, I'm getting Ben Johnson with Dak Prescott.
The more I sat on it, I thought the Lions, like, disdain towards Dallas specifically felt a little off. Like, there's problems with the referees.
Yeah, I was going to say, the anchor is weird here. And it's not like the Cowboys talk crap after it anyways. Like, I don't know. Not that number. But hey, everyone, you got to find that angle. You got to find that, like, how do we motivate our guys this week? I know people think athletes are psycho, but it's like, that's how you have to get them going a little bit. You have to find, this guy hates you. Look at the Michael Jordan Hall of Fame speech. It's like, this is what gets these guys going, especially a team like the Lions. So I think maybe Ben Johnson was showing off a little bit, going like, I could coach this team. I can coach the Cowboys. No. Yeah, I know you're right. I think. And there will be a nice article afterwards about how terrible he is. All right. We are closing it out today. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly what you're talking
about. Matt and I will be back on Tuesday. Thank you to Charles for joining me. I am Nate Tice. You can find me at Nate_Tice. Where can they find you? I almost said it, but where can they find you, Charles?
You can find me on Twitter at 4verts. If you live in Brooklyn and you're listening to this on Thursday, maybe you could spot me somewhere outside Barclays around like 11:30 p.m. because New York Liberty won the title. The parade was
there.
The parade was this morning at like 10:30. Okay. I was like, I can't. I got something I do. I can't make that. But they're having big parties around Barclays, which is 3 stops from my apartment. So I will be out there.
I've gotten kind of spoiled. The 2 WNBA teams I've been into are the Minnesota Lynx and the Las Vegas Aces. And it kind of feels like cheating. It's like, oh, no, yeah, I got both of these teams. I know you're like the #1 Liberty fan. I know. How many games did you go to
this year?
At least several,
like 5 or 6, probably.
That's awesome.
I've probably
loved it,
like
right?
since. Oh, it's awesome. It's way more fun than Nets games.
I know.
I would say over the last 2 years, I've probably been to like 12, 15 Liberty games. And 3 finals games. I've never seen them win a finals game in person, but
you're the Jinx.
Yeah, I'm the Jinx. Yeah.
That's actually really funny. That's how I feel sometimes with the Mariners. Every time I go to one of their games, someone gets hurt or something happens, or the literal roof falls in the case when they played at the Kingdom. I know. I need to go to the Aces game. They play at Mandalay Bay. I need to check that out soon. All right, but anyways, then we're wrapping it up. That was fun. Subscribe to us, follow us. Rate us. If you don't like us, just yell at me on Twitter. Don't do it in the reviews. Keep the reviews nice and positive, pretty please. I appreciate that. We appreciate that. You can also watch us on YouTube, on the Yahoo Sports YouTube channel. You can follow Yahoo Sports as well on Snapchat if you're into that. Also, thanks to Brett Stononati behind the scenes for making us look good. Thank you all for listening. Enjoy your weekend of football. See you guys next week.